Okay, so we're starting with physical trauma here. Severe or sudden injury to living tissue caused by external force, impact, weapon, accident. This can be minor, it can be major. If it's immediate injury, need basically take care of it. Okay, so we're going to be dealing with pressure. When we talk about pressure, we're saying, okay, how much energy do we have in a specific area? Okay, if I'm doing this, my pressure is not in any particular place. But if I turn it on its edge, okay, that pressure is now become very localized, and it causes a lot more damage, a lot more injury. And so you can basically take that same amount, I can sit there and smack you with the flat of the blade, you're going to be fine. If I put that same energy to that, you're not going to be fine. Now, with blunt force trauma, we're going to start off with a pork belly here. Okay, this is basically the pig's version of your stomach. Okay, you got some fatty tissue, some me more than you. Okay, you got the muscle tissue on the other side. Now, understand, because this is dead, it's not going to bleed. All right? Why? There's no capillaries running through it right now. There's no blood flowing through it. And so understand that when we look at something, we are looking at this idea of, okay, what is being moved, what's being left behind. All right, so when we talk about blunt force trauma, okay, we're going to start with something really simple, contusion. Okay, what is a contusion? What's the non-technical term for a contusion? Yeah, it's a bruise. So just give it a light little smack. All right, hold on. Okay, let's just do, yeah, all right. So, no, you're good, you're good. Let me finish getting this on, sorry. Okay, now, if you'll notice, are you seeing the impact of that? Yeah, there's definitely some light damage going on there. Now, the harder you hit, and this time I want you to hit about twice as hard, just one time. Oh, okay, well, no, this is great. All right, so you see that this one is going down significantly more. So every time, the more energy, the more the tissue gets deformed. Now, in the case of living tissue, what is it going to fill up with once it gets moved down? Yeah, it's going to fill up with blood, which is where your bruises lead to. Okay? See, we need to understand that when you are in a violent conflict, it's not something like this. It's not like, oh, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Okay? You suck. It's usually something pretty violent. This is the abrasion, okay? And the abrasion is basically when you're ripping the tissue. You're scraping, you're pulling, you're scraping the knee. So in this case, we're going to use the closest thing we can to gravel, which is cheese grater. Okay? Is that person going to be bleeding after that? Yes, this is the fatty tissue. If I keep going, okay, it's going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. Now, where are you going to see it? Where do you think? What kind of accident do you think you're going to see this at where it's going to be really bad? It goes down to the muscle tissue, or maybe even the bone. That's exactly right. Motorcycle accident. Okay, this is why the motorcycle guys wear leathers or wear somewhat protective armor. Why? Because they're speeding along, they're going really fast, and I've seen a couple cases of this. When we're back in the room, I can show you an example. Guy basically was wearing a tank top, and he tipped at going about 45 miles an hour, and basically ground down to his shoulder bone, through the muscle tissue, through everything. Is that still technically abrasion? Yeah, because it's basically just scraping it through until you get to that point. All right, and that is the basic idea of an abrasion. And yeah, that's your skin. So laceration is still this basic idea of we are ripping up something. So these are brass knuckles. Go ahead and put them on. Now what I'm going to have you do is you're going to keep doing that until we've established a laceration. So just keep on going until I tell you to stop. Hard as you want. Okay, well, we've gone all the way through. Do we have a laceration at this point? Yes, we do. All right, and let's go ahead and demo it on one other thing real quick. Hit this, and by the way, this is the closest thing to your leg tissue we have. So go ahead and just keep doing that. Do you want to get hit with brass knuckles? No, you don't. All right, so with sharp force trauma, what we're dealing with is something with an edge. Okay, something with an angle to it, something with an edge, it's going to open stuff up. Okay, and these fall a whole bunch of different things. It can be stab wounds, puncture wounds, incised wounds, slash, cutting wounds, chop wounds, therapeutic wounds. Okay, so puncture and stab wounds. All right, so you're going to stab with the ice pick. Okay, so just very casually, I'd like you to stab this. How hard was that?
Not hard at all.
Okay, leave that in there. Okay. Now, I'd like you to stab it with something without a point. Was it any harder?
No.
No, not really. Now, both of these wounds are at least past 3.5, 4 inches of tissue. I'm going to give you a 5 count, and you're going to stab it as many times as you can in 5 seconds. What I want you all to do is I want you to count how many times it gets stabbed. Okay, so go. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000. Stop. How many times did he stab?
Like 13.
Did you count?
No.
How many? Like 13 times. 13 times in 5 actual seconds. That means 13 different places that person has to be figured out what's going on. Okay? What's going to be the effect of you got a tiny hole in an organ, it's going to start what? Internally bleeding. Okay? Hesitation marks are generally tied to suicide. If someone's committing suicide and they're slicing their wrist, are they slicing their wrist with this, or are they slicing their wrist with something small? Small. Okay? So all I want you to do is I'm going to go ahead and just say, I need you to make a bunch of little cuts like that, but don't go very deep, if at all possible. Okay, and I want you to do it in this top section here. So little cuts. Yep. Okay, do a few more down here. Okay, thank you. All right, this is what hesitation marks look like. Okay, are they hesitating going all the way through? Yeah. And this is the basic idea behind it. So when you see someone with scarring like this, it generally indicates a history of either self-harm or potential suicidal. We did find out the closest thing to human fingers, pigtail. Okay, so when you deal with an avulsion, okay, what's going on is I'm going to have you just basically hold that in your hand, and I'm going to basically try to remove as much as possible. So you're just holding on to it as hard as you possibly can, and I am just going to try and strip the tissue off of it. Now, I have not gotten very far, but understand, when this happens, this skins people's entire fingers. Okay, it's usually tied to rings. This is why a lot of guys wear rubber rings. If they work in an industrial field, rubber ring gets caught, it just gets pulled off. Silver doesn't pull off very easily, and so it'll catch. And when it catches, let me try and make this a little center here. It basically just takes the finger with it because it catches the finger. Rings don't just slide off. Okay, they're at an angle. And so when they come off, this one's working a lot better. Yeah. Okay, now this is not perfect, but you can already see from here how much muscle tissue we ripped off. Now imagine that's your finger, and your ring is on your finger. Okay, so what we're going to focus on this one is going to be this person's neck. Now, I don't have any cords for this. I don't have any cords for this, but I do have a bone in here. And so he's not going to strangle with a piece of rope. He's going to strangle with a coat hanger. Okay? So, go and put your hands on that coat hanger. Okay? And let's get it down just a little bit. And I need you to, really, you're going to make it as tight as possible. You can slide your hands up, and you're going to basically wiggle it and make it, and you got about 10 seconds, because it's taking about 10 seconds to choke somebody out. So go ahead, start now. Oh, hold. Okay, just, yeah, there we go. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000, 7 1,000. Oh, good grief. All right, they're dead. Okay, God. Okay, wasn't expecting to have to hold on to a greasy piece of meat today. Okay, can you see the strangulation mark? Okay, now, I will 100% tell you, that person would definitely have some broken throat bones in the process, because Mr. White is definitely very enthusiastic about choking this meat. So chop wounds are the best and worst of both worlds, because you get to slice and you also get to break tissue at the same time. And what you're going to do is you're going to take this machete and you're not going to slice, you're going to chop. And by chop, I mean you're basically, think of like going to the barbecue place and they're chopping you off a big old chunk of meat. Okay? And go ahead and chop. Yeah. Okay, all right, stop. That's 3 ribs she just went through. Did she even try? No. I'm going to give you one more. Okay, now this one is a good example of chop. Now, the problem is, chop does not always let people, something like this is not always the best tool. It's going to be this. This is a tomahawk. Okay? You're going to basically, hold 2 hands. You're going to bring it up and bring it down like you're trying to pass through it. And you're just going to go ahead and do it one big hit. Go ahead. Okay, let's do one more, a little more up, because you kind of missed it. Okay? You just went through the equivalency of a hip bone. That's a hip bone. That's a hip bone for a 300-pound animal. Okay, so the other one is going to be defensive wounds, all right? You're keeping the small knife for this, okay? All right, defensive wound is when someone's attacking and someone is defending, okay? So for this would be like my arm, okay? Because think about it. When you go up for a defensive position, arms are going up. And so if this is the outside tissue, this is the inside. And so when we look at that outside tissue, okay, I want you to go ahead and give it a couple slashes. Okay, yes, I am a little nervous when he does that. That's what a defensive wound looks like. It's going to look on the outside of the step. It's not going to be on the inside. So when we look for a defensive wound, if someone's being attacked or we're looking at a corpse, if they got their wounds here, probably means they're defending themselves. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate a therapeutic wound. So what I did was I took a part of a stick of butter and I opened up this piece of pig and I shoved the stick of butter in there. Now, it's essentially a zit or a wart or a cyst, well, not a wart, a cyst. Okay, and when we talk about a therapeutic wound, we're having to remove this to get something else out. Now, we're using the small little knife because it's sharp and because I've got good control on it, okay? But I've got my big old lump right here. Now, are we going to cut it just all the way around? No. You're going to cut it, you're going to try and find an area, and you're like, okay, we're going to cut it right down the middle. Because what's the thing here? Are you hurting the person when you do this? Yeah, you are. This is why it's called a therapeutic wound. It's still a wound. We're basically trying to get into the tissue so we can remove something else. Okay? So in this case, okay, I've got this big old butter tumor in here. Okay? And so we got the tumor removed. and then we stitch it back up, is that going to leave a scar? Okay. All right, the last one I'm going to show you, and this is going to be the absolute last one we're going to do on this one, and then I'm going to stop. Okay. Box cutter. Okay. This is the same style of box cutter that was used during the hijacking of planes in 9/11. If you don't know the rest of the details, you can look it up. But basically, they used box cutters because that's what they could smuggle onto the plane. Okay. Can a box cutter screw you up? Okay. If you understand nothing else today, understand that these things happen fast. A small blade, a pin, whatever, can cause damage, and you need to respect that stuff. We always say, hey, respect firearms, and people for the most part do, but they don't always respect the ability of a blade to put somebody in the ground.